Something is shifting deep inside the Los Angeles Rams organization right now, and if you listen closely, you can hear the future calling. We've been living in the Matthew Stafford era, chasing Super Bowls with every ounce of our souls. But the decision made at pick 13 has sent shockwaves through the faithful. It feels like the ground is moving. Before we dive into why this specific move changes everything, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you are a real Rams fan, you know this is the moment where our identity truly begins to transform. The 13th pick was supposed to be a sure thing, a defensive cornerstone, or a flashy weapon to keep our window open. Instead, the name Ty Simpson echoed through the draft hall, and suddenly, the air left the room. It's not just that we took a quarterback, it's who we took. Ty Simpson doesn't fit the mold of the modern-day physical freak that teams sell their souls for. He's 6'1", barely 212 pounds. He doesn't have that thunderous arm that makes you jump out of your seat like some of the other prospects. He's not going to outrun a linebacker and leave them in the dust. And yet, Sean McVay saw something. This move feels heavy, doesn't it? It feels like we are staring at a massive gamble that could either define the next decade of Rams football or haunt us for years. The emotional weight of this pick is intense, because we aren't used to this. We are used to the veterans, the proven stars, the guys who have already climbed the mountain. Bringing in a kid with only 15 starts at Alabama feels like a total departure from everything we know about this front office. Why him? Why now? There is a quiet tension in the building because this isn't just about a backup. It's about the heir to the throne. You look at his tape, and you see a player who had just 1 year to prove himself in the toughest conference in college football. He's raw, he's young, and he's stepping into a spotlight that has burned much bigger players before him. But here is the thing, the Rams don't make these moves for no reason. There is a specific vision here that we might not fully see yet, but it's there, lingering behind the scenes. We are talking about a player who has to follow in the footsteps of a veteran icon. The pressure isn't just on Ty. It's on the entire organization to prove that they haven't lost their touch. It's about maintaining that contender status while building a bridge to the future. Now this is where it gets interesting, because the history of players with this little experience is a very dark road to walk down. It is a massive risk. When you talk about drafting quarterbacks, everyone brings up the Bill Parcells rules. It's like a sacred text for NFL evaluators. The guidelines are simple but brutal. You want a senior who graduated. You want a 3-year starter with at least 30 games and 23 wins. You want that 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and a completion percentage over 60. Now, if you look at Ty Simpson, he checks some of those boxes, but he fails the most important one. Experience. He only had 15 starts. That is half of what the traditional wisdom says you need to survive in this league. It's a red flag that is waving right in our faces. We've seen this story before with guys like Anthony Richardson or Mitchell Trubisky. They had the talent, they had the first-round pedigree, but they didn't have the reps. They didn't have the scars that come from 3 years of collegiate battle. And honestly, that is what worries me the most as a fan. Are we asking a young man to learn on the job in a city that expects nothing less than greatness? The history of quarterbacks with 15 or fewer starts isn't just spotty. It is often catastrophic. We are talking about names like Dwayne Haskins or Mark Sanchez. These were players who showed flashes of brilliance but lacked the deep-rooted foundation that only comes from time. But here's the thing. We aren't the Bears and we aren't the Commanders. We are the Los Angeles Rams. We operate differently. Yet, you can't ignore the math. The leap from 15 college starts to the NFL is like jumping across a canyon with your eyes closed. There is so much nuance to the game that you only pick up by seeing thousands of snaps. Can Simpson bridge that gap while sitting behind Matthew Stafford? That is the $40 million question. If he can't, this pick becomes a massive anchor on our salary cap and our roster flexibility. We are essentially betting on our ability to develop a player who is still very much an unknown quantity. It is a bold, almost arrogant move by the front office to think they can defy the historical trends that have crushed so many other franchises over the last decade of draft history. But this is where things change, and we have to look at the environment. Think about the burning houses we've seen around the league. When you look at the failures of guys like Trubisky or Haskins, you have to ask yourself if they were the problem or if the building was on fire. In Chicago, they threw Trubisky into a situation where the wide receivers were bottom tier and the coaching staff was a revolving door. In Washington, Haskins was drafted by an owner while the head coach didn't even want him. They were told to put out the fire with gasoline. Now look at what we have here in Los Angeles. Ty Simpson isn't being thrown into a dumpster fire. He is walking into one of the most stable, most creative offensive environments in the history of the sport. And that is the biggest question that keeps me up at night. Is the system enough to overcome the lack of experience? Because this could become something much bigger than just a backup role. We are looking at a situation where a young player actually has the tools to succeed. He has Sean McVay. He has a front office that is completely aligned with the coaching staff. Unlike those other young QBs who were set up to fail from day one, Simpson is being given a golden ticket. But that also means there are no excuses. If he fails here, it won't be because the Rams failed him. It will be because the jump was simply too high. This creates a different kind of pressure. It's not the pressure of survival. It's the pressure of potential. Every single practice, every preseason snap, the eyes of the faithful will be searching for a sign that he is the one. We are going to be comparing him to every other rookie, every other young starter, trying to find reassurance. The emotional looping of this decision is going to dominate our conversations for the next 2 years. We are essentially in a holding pattern, waiting to see if we found a diamond in the rough or if we just ignored the warning signs that every other team was staring at. It feels like we are walking a tightrope without a net, hoping that the culture we've built is strong enough to catch us if he falls. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This actually worries me a little bit, but there is a part of me that is also incredibly excited. I really like the idea of the Rams finally taking a swing on a young passer while Matthew Stafford is still here to mentor him. This doesn't feel like the panic move the Bears made with Glennon and Trubisky. It feels calculated. I think fans should pay attention to how Simpson processes the game. Reports from camp and from the scouts suggest his processing ability is actually way ahead of where those other guys were. That is the one thing you can't always teach. You can teach a guy to throw harder, you can teach him to slide, but you can't always teach him to see the field. If his mind is as fast as McVay's, then the lack of starts might not matter as much as the numbers suggest. But I'm also realistic. This could become a problem if Stafford goes down, and we are forced to see if 15 starts are enough to lead a playoff-ready roster. That is the nightmare scenario. We've seen Jared Goff struggle before McVay took over, and we saw how much the system matters for a guy's confidence. The Rams have a history of making things work, but this is a new level of difficulty. I look at this move, and I see a front office that is refusing to be stagnant. They aren't waiting for the car to crash before they look for a new one. They are trying to build the next engine while the current one is still purring. It's a move made from a position of strength, not desperation, and that usually leads to better results. Still, the ghost of Trey Lance or Mitchell Trubisky lingers in the back of my mind. You can't help but wonder if we should have used that pick on a player who could help us win a ring right now. This is a gamble on 2027 and 2028, while we are still very much in the hunt for 2026. It is a fascinating, terrifying, and brilliant bit of business all at once. I trust McVay, but man, the stakes have never felt higher for a single draft pick in this era of Rams football. This journey with Ty Simpson is just beginning. And honestly, the tension is what makes being a Rams fan so incredible right now. We aren't just watching a football team. We are watching a masterclass in organizational strategy, or perhaps the biggest gamble of the Sean McVay era. The window is still open for Matthew Stafford, but the shadow of the future is finally starting to take a real shape. Is Simpson the guy who keeps the torch lit? Or will we look back at pick 13 as the moment we tried to be too smart for our own good? The uncertainty is everywhere, but that is exactly where true stars are born. We have the coaching, we have the culture, and now we have the mystery. This story isn't over by a long shot. There are more moves coming, more decisions to be made, and more weight being added to those young shoulders in the quarterback room. I want to hear from the real faithful today. Does this pick make you nervous, or do you trust the process that brought us a ring? Drop a comment below and let's talk about the future of this franchise. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay locked in on everything happening behind the scenes at SoFi. We are in this together through the wins and the high-stakes gambles. The new Rams era is approaching, and it is going to be one hell of a ride. Believe in us.